So 18.35. Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madameva cha na vimunchiti durmedha dritissa partha tamasi. Anybody would like to volunteer to read? You might do so.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Translation, and that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
So far, Lord beautifully described how determination works in the mode of goodness, in the mode of passion. In this shloka, what is Lord going to talk about is dhriti or determination in the mode of ignorance. So what is Krishna telling over here? Yaya partha, yaya dhriti, sorry. Yaya dhriti. Dhriti means determination. That determination, yaya, that determination. Yaya means that. So that dhriti, that determination by which navi munchati. Navi Munchati means one never gives up, one never stops. Swapnam, he never gives up, he never stops dreaming. Bhayam, he never, he is always afraid. He is Shokam, so he is always, some kind of grief, and he's always crying about something or the other. Vishadam is always miserable, is always gloomy, depressed mind and all. He's always having these four. He's always in a dream mode, he's always in a fearful mode, he's always grieving about something, and he's always in despair. So madam, madam also he has, it's he's having in illusion, is in some different dream world, some kind of mother or illusion he is in. Durmedha, durmedha dhritissa. So durmedha dhritissa means durmedha. Medha means intelligent, durmedha means unintelligent. So unintelligent determination, unintelligent dhriti this is. So if you are medhavi, you are very intelligent. If you are durmedha, you are not intelligent. So you are having unintelligent kind of determination, Lord says. O Partha, O son of Pritha, says Krishna, tamasi. This is in the mode of ignorance. So determination does not mean only in the persons, only in the mode of goodness is having determination. No, it's not that mode of goodness determination, only people in mode of goodness determination are having determination. No, it is seen in unintelligent and ignorant people also, we can see the determination, but the determination isn't going in the wrong direction. Determination is there. Determination is there in all three, whether you are in mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. You are having determination, but for what? That is the question. In mode of goodness, you are having determination to go on the path of righteousness. In mode of passion, you have the determination to follow money or something else, passionate thing. In the mode of ignorance, you have determination. I am not going to get up. I am fearful about everything and anything. I get depressed very easily. I am very determined. I just don't want. You will be very stubborn, you know. But it is stubbornness. It's that wrong-headedness type of determination that they have. And where does it stem from? It arises from fear, despair, pride. Look, for example, there are so many people who are having that fear complex. Very interesting to know and note and observe that they hold on to that fear complex as if they can never ever separate from that. From it will never separate from the personality. That's how they behave. Oh, no, 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 no. So everything can be made possible. Determination is needed. There's so many people, they have a very nice life, very good family, everything is good, they are making their life hell unnecessarily. Why? Because they're clinging on that 20 years ago, your father said this, or your brother said, or your sister, your mom said this, so and so to me. That is why today they will bring that today. They will bring that past disappointment, some past bad incident that had happened to them. And then they will refuse to let it go. Where small argument should start, they will go back 20 years ago, what somebody had said to them. despite fully understanding that it's not going to help them, it is going to spoil their present life, it is going to have a disastrous effect on the present life. But no, we are like that, we want to cling to that. And they will, some people are bent upon quarreling with others. They have ego, right? So little ego is hurt, they start arguing till they want to prove the point. The other one has to just let go. Till then they will keep on and on and on. So here Krishna says, swapnam. So we should jump to, jump to conclusion. Oh, maybe the person is in the mode of goodness, does not dream. Can we? We can jump to that conclusion, right? That means swapnam here, Lord Krishna has said, means determination in the mode of goodness person does not dream. No, no, no. That's not. We are to getting dreams every day. So that means we are in the mode of ignorance. No, it's a wrong understanding. Srila Prabhupada clears it. He says dream means too much sleep here. Whether we are in the mode of goodness, we are in the mode of passion or ignorance, Srila Prabhupada says dream is a very, very natural phenomena. You can't just not dream, it's not in your hands. So Krishna does not, mean swapna means dreaming means just dreaming. No, it means too much sleep. Srila Prabhupada clears that. And Krishna here means don't be a couch potato, just don't be lying down there doing nothing. Do something, Krishna says. Don't be a lazy, slothful person and waste your this perfect human life that you have, this precious, perfect human life that you have gotten. You can just utilize it perfectly. You know, use this bad bargain, this body, this human birth. This is a bad bargain. Actually, we should be in the heavenly abode. But anyway, use this bad bargain and use it in the best possible way by using it properly. So Krishna in this shloka is saying that determination based on such kind of stubbornness and clinging on to this lazy, fruitless, wasteful thoughts is in the mode of ignorance. We should definitely be not there. So, in this way, if a person is always anxious, fearful, 24 by 7, miserable, he is completely depressed and in his own cocoon of dreaming in illusion, what's the point of having such a life, right? But then, yes, there are majority of people who get this kind of determination and they ruin their life. So many suicidal things we have seen for nothing, for little trivial things. They're just, ending up their life. They don't know that they will be in spirit form for years together till, whatever lifespan it had been written. And when that lifespan is ended, then Krishna will decide whether he should get another body or not. Otherwise, it's gone. Soul without a body cannot do anything, right? So after having spoken on buddhi, that is intelligence, dhriti, that is determination in three modes, Lord, he has yet found another factor that a person runs after. Guess what? That is happiness. Lord is going to, he knows very well what we are running after. So he is going to describe different kinds of happiness that, we, the conditioned soul, gets in three modes of material nature. So let's see that part from next shloka onwards. Sukham tvadanim trividham shrunu me bharatarshabha abhyasa dramate yatra Khantam cha nigacchati. Hare Krishna. Yes, anybody else would like to read the
Hare Krishna
verse?
Mataji.
Yes, yes.
O best of Bharatas, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys and by which he sometimes comes to the end of our distress. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Krishna is moving on and starting this new topic. That's the happiness. Happiness in three modes of material nature. And here he's starting with the mode of goodness. So what is Krishna saying? No, no, he's not starting in the mode of goodness. He's giving an introduction. So here what is Krishna saying? Shrunu me. Listen to me. And who should listen to him? Bharatar Shabha. Bharatar Shabha is best of Bharatas, who is Arjuna. He's won so many wars. He's a valiant warrior. He is excellent in his archery skills, and so on and so forth. Very modest. So he is the best of Bharatas, says Krishna, and he says, Arjuna, Shronu me, listen to me. So then Lord is saying, Sukham tu idanim trividham. There are three kinds of Sukha. So three kinds. He's going to. So what are you going to speak about Krishna? If we ask him, he says Krishna like I am. Krishna is like I am going to speak about Sukham, happiness, which is Trividham, which is three kinds, which is we all know goodness, passion, and ignorance. Abhyasat ramate yatra. Abhyasat ramate yatra dukkham. Dukkha antam chani gacchati. Dukkha antam. So the happiness which he, by abhyasa, he does abhyasa by practice, ramate yatra, one enjoys that kind of happiness by practice, where his dukkham or distress can gachati means go, can reach to antam or the end. In previous verse, Lord Krishna had discussed about the various parts, elements of action, constituents of action, right? Which were the, what were that? Instrument of action. Like instrument of action is senses. He spoke about senses. Then he spoke about the work, the work, act itself, and then the doer, which is the soul. Then he described about the factors that motivate and control the action. So what motivates and control the action? What are they? Knowledge. First, you need to have the knowledge. If you want to do something, you need to have the knowledge. And then the object of knowledge, what is to be achieved, what is there to do. And then the knower, the one who has to do. So these three factors are there when you are going to do an action and which motivates action. Okay, I am going to do this work. Now he has gone to goal of action. What is the goal of action? Basically, Krishna is saying, hey Arjun, hear from me that there are three kinds of happiness. Why? Why Krishna is talking about happiness here? It is because ultimate motive, ultimate goal of action, people's action, behind anybody's action is what? Why are we doing anything? Because we are searching for happiness. I may play a piano because it gives me happiness. You may go and do boxing because it gives you happiness. Some may go to the gym because it gives them happiness. We are all, the ultimate goal is happiness. So why Krishna is talking about that is because the goal of any action is happiness, wherein we all embody soul, we enjoy there, and Lord says we can even reach the end of all our sufferings in case we really, really understand what that real happiness is. And that is very important, which is being in tune with the Lord. That is actually the real happiness. But we need to get connected to the Lord. That's real happiness. But that happiness we need to understand. And that is why Lord said, sometimes it can come to end of all the distress that we are facing in this material. Sometimes he has used, because for that we have to move on from the mode of ignorance to passion to goodness, Shuddha Sattva Guna. Once we go there, then yes, Lord says, sometimes we can come to the end of all distress. Shloka, this verse is so very apt for this Kali Yuga, where everyone, each one of us, everyone is searching for happiness, not, but not temporary one, right? Permanent one. Eternal happiness is what we are seeking. But people try so hard, and what do they get? A short time of happiness, short span of happiness. So there is this one question, we need to keep asking ourselves, why is it? Why is it that we are not able to get that permanent happiness? That's the question that we need to keep asking ourselves. And the answer is that if this world itself is ashashvatam, it has been titled ashashvatam, means temporary. So it's but natural that whatever we are going to get over here, little happiness, from little things that we get will also be temporary. It's a common sense thing, right? And the next question can be like, is it possible to get that permanent kind of eternal happiness that we want? Is it possible that we can end all our miseries? Right now, if someone asks the definition of happiness, then actually it's a gap between two miseries. There are two miseries, and in between there is a short gap, and we call that happiness. So we have one misery over here and then another misery over here, and the interval in between is the happiness. Is there any way out? Srila Prabhupada writes, he gives us in a very simple form. He says we are all conditioned souls, so we want to experience happiness all the time, but that doesn't happen, right? We don't experience happiness all the time. But then, if by God's grace we come across a divine soul, a very great devotee, guru, a divine soul, we may get out of this material entanglement, says Srila Prabhupada. See, everyone desires to be happy, right? Everyone wants to be happy in this life. They will do all the action. Whatever we are doing, what are we trying to do? We do anything and we want fulfillment. We want to be happy. If I have done cooking, I want to be happy while cooking. Everyone's action in their fundamental factors, the kind of happiness they derive out of their work, everything is so different. You can see on the screen. This one girl, she derives happiness when she's praying to the Lord. The second one is rejoicing when she's indulging in all in she's having money in her hand and she's enjoying that money. The third one, she's indulging in all kinds of stuff, that's bad for her health and for life in general. But she's having that kind of happiness over there. So let's hear. So Krishna says, Shrunu me, Arjuna, hear. So in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna, hear me out. I'm going to speak about the happiness in three modes of material nature. So now he is going to explain three modes. Let's see that in the mode of goodness. Yattadagre vishameva pariname mrutopamam tatsukham satvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam. Hare Krishna. Triveni Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. That which in the beginning may
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
My internet connection got like can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji, can hear you.
Okay. Yes, please.
That which in the Hare Krishna Mataji, that which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like a nectar, and which awakens ones to self-realization is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So Krishna asked Arjuna, hear me out. I'm going to talk about the happiness in the three modes. And here he is going to talk about the happiness in the mode of goodness. So what is he saying over here? Yattat agre. Agre means beginning. So yattat agre, happiness, which in the beginning. Agre means beginning. Visham iva is like poison. In the beginning, it is like visha. Visha means poison. Pariname, at the end. Amrita upamam. It is just like, upamam means when we compare something. It's just like we use for similes, this snow is like as white as the cloud. We can say anything, right? Like, when we are giving comparison type. So he says, in the beginning, agre, it is like visha, which is poison. The pariname at the end, it is like amrita upamam. It is like compared to nectar. And that happiness, which atma buddhi prasadajam, which is prasadajam or generated or born, we can say, by what? Atma Buddhi, the intellect, the pure intellect of the Atma. It awakens the Atma Buddhi, or you can say self-knowledge or self-realization. Tat Sukham, that kind of happiness. Satvikam Proktam, it is said to be in the mode of goodness. So in one liner, if you have to say, it is very difficult in the beginning, but with the time, it becomes nectarian. That's what Lord is trying to tell us. In the beginning, it will be it's not instant happiness. If you are looking for instant happiness, then no, it is not that. But after some time, same thing that was like poison will become nectar. This is the feature of happiness in the mode of goodness. It may take some time, but it is guaranteed. Such thing, same thing. When we get into the spiritual path, what happens? It's so difficult, right? It's not bed of roses. There is a lot of effort we have to put in. A lot of sacrifices are involved, because we are completely in an ignorant mode. And then we need to get up and, the moment we come to know that, okay, 4 regulative principles are there, lo and behold, 50% back off. And then next, get up at Brahma Muhurtam. Oops, not my cup of tea. Gone. Next, 16 rounds japa you have to do. Oh my God, I cannot do that. Then, oh, you have to attend Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita classes, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oh, good heavens. Oh my God, where am I ended up now? Who is going to read all that and sit in this class of 1 hour and listen to an old lady, some old lady, dear me. Oh my God, I don't want it. So this is so difficult, right? Srila Prabhupada states that, when we decide to walk on the path of spirituality and self-realization, austerity, penance, self-discipline, so that we are to be able to control our mind and senses. So many things come into the picture. All these processes seem like poison at first. Poison means difficult, you can say, cumbersome. But then once we get going, there is no looking back. It's just paradise. It's just nectar. It's good. It's heavenly. Everything becomes so very pleasant, that we are just basking in the glory of the God and praises of the God, happy and enjoying and elated as if we are on the cloud 9, right? There is this, I don't know whether you have heard of amla. It's called Indian gooseberry. So this Indian gooseberry or amla, it is actually called one of the superfoods that are very, it's beneficial to health. Why? Because it has vitamin C. And that vitamin C is like the vitamin C that is there in 10 oranges. It has vitamin C of more than 10 oranges. But children dislike it. Why? Because it has got a little bit of bitter taste in it. But if you go to North India, the parents over there, they encourage children to eat that. They say, there's a saying in our childhood also we heard, आमला का खाया और बड़ों का कहा बाद में पता चलता है. So amla khaya means, benefits of both, eating of amla, that is the Indian gooseberry, and the advice of the elders. You will come to know in the future. Once you grow older, once you are experienced, and when you reach their age, you'll say, oh, my dad used to say, or my mom used to say, I never listened. My dadaji used to say, my dadi used to say, or whoever. Interestingly, after eating this amla in just a couple of minutes, the bitter taste disappears actually. It's very interesting to note that, when you start eating it. And then slowly you get, you acquire the taste and the sweetness, then you experience that. And you have acquired it. So you like it now. Same goes with olives also. If you have heard of olives, some people really like it. Some people just can't eat it. You have to acquire the taste, right? And the long-term benefits are always there because you are getting so much of vitamin C, so much of vitamin C. Same thing, right? And when we are doing chanting, initially we may not get that sweetness, that taste for chanting. We just do it as a matter of duty. Do it, do it, do it, do it. There comes a time when you just get lost into it and you don't know, you're doing and doing and doing, and you feel like doing more and more. That is what we need. So in this verse, Lord Krishna is saying happiness in the mode of goodness is of the same nature. Sometimes, when it starts in the beginning, it is like bitter for the short run, but it tastes like nectar in the end. So there are two paths. One is beneficial, or you can call it Shreya. The Vedas refer this as the mode of goodness, which is unpleasant in the beginning, but of course it is beneficial ultimately. And in contrast, there is another path. The Vedas have referred to it as pleasant or prayer. Priya is like pleasant, beginning, very, very pleasant in the beginning, but ultimately it is not that great. It's harmful. So, I remember there were two students in my class also, Pam and the other one was Khan in Thailand. They were both, there was board exam approaching, and it is but natural, right? You have to study for the board exams. But what I observed was that this girl, Pam, was always, always playing games on the phone, whiling away her time with other grade friends, different class friends, and going and watching movies and, partying, and not focusing so much in her preparation. And the other one, the Khan, was sitting very meticulously making notes, short notes, so that, just before the exam, she can just go through it very quickly. Quick notes, you can say. She read very carefully in detail, and then she was making short notes out of that. So much of pain she was taking and going through all the 10 years past papers, asking me whenever there was any doubt in her mind. So these two parts, obviously, it's obvious it will lead to very different ends. And it did. Result was naturally Khan topped the college, and she got admission in the best university. Well, the other one, Pam, failed. For Pam, the pleasant is enjoyable in the beginning. For her, it was very pleasant. She was playing video games, she was doing everything, partying and watching movies and all. She was enjoying to the core. She enjoyed. But then it was prayer. It was going with friends to the movies and partying around. But what happened? It all ended in pain. She suffered. She got so depressed. We had to go put her in counseling sessions. That's the thing. For Khan, she was wise enough to understand that these are all temporary happiness. I can always watch movie later. I can always party later. I can always go out with my friends. I can always play video games later on. And she knew that those were temporary happiness, and she chose not to get deceived by such attractions. She did not fall prey to such things. She chose the beneficial path, where initially she had to work so, so, so very hard. you know she had to burn the midnight oil continuously. It was so discomforting, but she chose to um, do it, and hard work paid off. She's very successful in her career right now. So that's the thing. Lord says happiness in sattvic bhava is poison initially, but nectar in the end. We can practically see that in our day-to-day life. And it also gives realization, self-realization. If this is happiness in the mode of goodness, then how will be the happiness in the mode of passion? Lord Krishna is going to speak about that in the next shloka. Let's see that. विषयेन्द्रिय संयोगात् यत्तदग्रे मृतोपमं परिणामे विषमिव तत्सुखं राजसंस्मृतम्. Hare Krishna. Yes, who would like to read? Triveni Mataji or Pratima Mataji or whoever? Hare Krishna. Okay, I'll read. That happiness which is derived from contact of senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at first but poison at the end is said to be the nature of passion. So he spoke about happiness in the mode of goodness. Now, Lord is, highlighting characteristics of happiness in the mode of passion. What is Krishna saying here? Tat Sukham, that Sukham, that happiness, which is derived from what? What is it derived from? Vishya, Indriya, Samyogat. Samyogat here means combination of both. Of combination of both what? What are those two? Vishya. Vishya means things, object of senses. When you're seeing something, if I'm able to see a phone, I'm seeing this. This is the object of my sense. I'm able to see this. So, object of senses, Vishya. And what is the other thing that is there in the happiness in the mode of passion, other than object of senses? And the second one is Indriya. Indriya means senses. We have all five senses here, right? So all these Indriyas are involved and the object of senses there. So Lord is saying that these two are there. The combination of these two, Samyogat, Vishaya and Indriya. So a combination of these two, yet tat agre, that which, agre, again I told you in the previous shloka, agre means beginning. That which in the beginning is Amrita Upamam. Upamam, I told you, it's like a simile, like, considered, like Amrita. So in the beginning, it is like nectar. But Pariname, again, end. Visham Iva, in the end, it is like poison. Tat Sukham Rajasam Smrita. That kind of happiness is considered to be Rajasic or in the mood of passion. So, like I gave the example of my students, the other one, she was completely gone, right? So Rajasic happiness is experienced as a thrill. It arises from the contact between the senses and the object of senses. But that joy, is it long term? No, it's short term joy. Because, later on you will feel depressed, you will feel a lot of anxiety, you are not getting she is not getting admission in any university, she has to repeat the whole year again, she feels waste, she feels very useless. So in the beginning it was so enjoyable for her, she was enjoying movies and everything, but later on when she failed, she got into a very, very, black hole. So this is, during COVID times, I'm talking about, I know a young man who fell for a girl's external beauty and got infatuated. Same was the case with the girl also. She also fell for him. So much so that without any second thought, they hurriedly got married also without the consent of their parents. It was COVID time. Little did they realize that it was just infatuation, sensual pleasure that they were looking at. Otherwise, they were poles apart in their nature, in their compatibility. But then what had happened? Vishya and Indriya. The Vishya was their own personality, the body, and the Indriyas, it drove them so mad to have that bodily relationship. In the beginning, it was great, very nice. But after a few days, what happened? When they came back from COVID ended and they went to the honeymoon and they came back from some place, reality struck them very, very hard. So after COVID ended, they went. And during just at the end of COVID, they had got married. They went for the honeymoon period. They came back and they realized marriage was not just limited to bodily attractions. So many other things are involved, factors are involved in it, right? Soon they started fighting. The relationship turned very, very bitter in a couple of months, so much so that they couldn't even stand each other's sight. It was just as if, they were throwing poisonous arrows at each other in form of words. It all ended in a bitter divorce. They're completely devastated now, completely depressed, completely in a miserable situation. You know, same thing happens when we desire to eat all sorts of junk food that are bad for health. We are very happy to eat. We are enjoying every bite of it, but we may end up in ailments. Why? Why all this? All because of uncontrolled combination of objects and the sense and the senses. Here, the junk food, which is, always the cause of distress, it should be avoided. Junk food should be avoided. We should not get into that entanglement of this object of senses and just go with the flow and enjoy, dekha jayega baad mein, whatever may happen. No, because we as devotees, we are trying to be on the path of spirituality. We must be beware of such rajasic happiness. It can come in any form. It can come in form of wealth. It can come in form of relationships, success, power, you name it. We can run after anything. The path to lasting divine bliss is what? What kind of that is? It is not to get indulged in such things, but to kind of, sacrifice, do some austerities, be disciplined, in whatever we are doing, whatever sadhana we are doing. We have to, um, whenever it is possible, we should try and focus on doing more and more and more devotional service. Doesn't matter whether you're able to go physically or you're doing it online, doesn't matter. So that, we can remain, hold each other's hand and remain on that spiritual platform where happiness, which we get, is permanent and not temporary, right? As we have in the material platform. Material platform, if we are there, the happiness is short-lived. So from here, Lord is moving on to explain to us the happiness in the mode of ignorance. Let's see that now. यदग्रे चानुबन्धे च सुखं मोहनमात्मनो निद्रालस्य प्रमादोत्थं तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्. Hare Krishna. Yes, Pratima Mataji, would you like to read?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be in the nature of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So after speaking of what to speak about mode of ignorance, after speaking about mode of happiness and passion, Lord is trying to elaborate on the mode of ignorance. Krishna says, Tat Sukham, that happiness, which is Tat Yat Agre, Chanu Anubandhecha Mohanam Atmanam. Happiness which is moha or illusory to the self, from Agre, from the beginning, to Anubandhe till the end, So there, those two verses, Lord used pariname, the result in the end. Here he has used the word anubandhe. Anubandhe chat. It is binding till the end. This illusory happiness arises from what? Krishna says it arises, says uttam. Uttam means it comes, it stems out from, it is produced from one, nidra, sleep. Then Lord is saying alasya, laziness. So that kind of tamas, tattama samudahritam, that kind of udarhatam, that is said to be tamasi, mode of ignorance, sleep and alasya. So what can we derive from what Lord has just said? Tamasic happiness is lowest kind. It is foolishness from the beginning till the end. One who is enjoying, who is taking pleasure in being very lazy and trying to sleep most of the time, is in complete mode of darkness all the time. Because we are, every minute we are sleeping, we are wasting our time. Human life is so precious. We don't know when our expiry date is. As I keep saying this, I don't know tomorrow will I get up or not. What will happen the next moment, I don't know. Why waste time? Because all this knowledge, it's a mode of ignorance. It is throwing the soul into, a black hole. Srila Prabhupada says, for a person who is in the mode of ignorance, everything is illusion. There is no happiness either in the beginning or at the end. There is no happiness. They think it is because they're in the illusion. That's why they're thinking. And yet that tiny experience of pleasure, that whatever it is in that, people get addicted to it. That's why you can see, whenever they're having drugs, they're cigarette smokers, alcoholics, weed, you name it, such bad stuff. They find it very difficult to break their habit. They get addicted to it because they're finding some kind of joy. They're in an illusion that that's joy. Even while knowing very well that it is going to injure them, it is going to harm them, it is not good for their health, they are not able to reject that happiness. They're getting that happiness from that addiction. They're not able to reject that. Knowing that, it's not that they don't know, they're fully aware of that. So that's foolishness. That's foolishness. I'm telling you, there is a well, you might fall into it. Please don't go. And you still go and you do it. What is that? That's stupidity, right? So the foolish living entity is very, very, very useless at controlling senses in the mind. And then what happens? He is forced to act according to the influence of modes of material nature. Even though he doesn't want it, soul is telling no, but the mind and the intellect and everything is pushing forward, and the soul says, okay, go for it, let's enjoy, and it is in the illusion. Right now it's in the illusion saying, yeah, okay, we are enjoying, oh, very nice, let's go for it. Like, it's like a silkworm. If you have seen a silkworm, it uses its own saliva to create a cocoon and then becomes trapped into it. And there is no possibility of getting out. Same thing. Foolish living entity, we foolish entity, we trap ourselves in a network of our own fruitive activities. And then we don't have no way to get out of it. There is no way to release ourselves, get out of it. So always the one who's in the mode of ignorance is always confused, always bewildered, and he is getting into this cycle of birth and death, and he just doesn't know where he is going, heading towards. He remains in the shackles of birth and death. There's no point, of his life. There's no motive of his life. There's no purpose of his life. Influence of modes of material nature is so very strong. Getting free is very difficult unless we are helped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only Krishna and only Krishna can help us. And Krishna states such pleasures which are derived from sleep and laziness and negligence, they are all in the mode of ignorance. So after speaking about the modes of nature elaborately, Krishna is now going to summarize this in the next shloka. Let's see that. न तदस्ति पृथिव्यां वा दिवि देवेषु वा पुनः सत्वं प्रकृतिजैर्मुक्तैः यथेभिः स्यात् त्रिभिर्गुणैः. Yes, please.
Should I go again?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I read?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. There is no being exiting either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary system, which is freed from these three modes of material these three modes born of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Lord Krishna is summarizing now all the topics that he spoke about in the three modes of material nature. It started from shloka number 19 and went up to this previous shloka, that's shloka number 39. And what Lord is saying, natadasti, natat asti. Asti means existing. So there is no one existing on Prithivyam, on this earth, on this earthly planet. Va or Divi Deveshu means or higher planetary systems amongst the celestial gods, Devatas. In this Prakriti Jahe or in this material realm, who are liberated, who are muktam, who are liberated from what? From what we have to be liberated from? Yat ebhisyat, from the influence. Ebhi means influence of what? Tribhir gunai. There is no one on this earth, or there is no one on this on the other higher planetary systems who are able to free themselves or liberate themselves from influence. Ebhisyat, tribhir gunai, from these three modes of material nature. So Krishna is telling about the total influence these modes of material nature has, all over the universe, all the three worlds. Modes of material nature is what? Bahiringa Shakti of the Lord, Lord's external material potency, right? It is known as Maya Shakti of the Lord. It is like mother-like womb of all these innumerable living entities that we are being in the universe. Material nature, whenever it is portrayed, it is always portrayed, even from the Shastras, they are taken out. Shvetashwara Upanishad, it is written over there that, these modes have colors like white representing goodness, red representing passion, and black representing the ignorance. The Maya is so energized by the Lord. Who is Lord? Lord is Sat Chit Ananda. He is eternally, full of knowledge, full of, he is eternal, he is full of knowledge, full of bliss. So, Maya's, domain, where does it extend from? Maya is from lowest most planet, you can say, hellish regions till Brahmaloka. It has its influence all over the place. So this three modes of material nature, sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna, these are the what do you call inherent attributes of Maya. They exist everywhere. So all living beings, whether they are human beings, they are devatas, everybody comes under the sway of these three modes of material nature. The only difference is the proportion, the percentage of these three gunas. For example, whoever is in the hellish regions, say, they have more of tamoguna. Those who are in the earthly planets may have more of rajoguna, and those who are on the celestial abodes or in the higher planetary systems, they have predominance of sattva guna. That's the proportion that can be seen. So Krishna, after summarizing different sections of karma, jnana section, now Krishna has got a plan. He is going to describe the progressive journey from karma to jnana to realization of paramatma or super soul. He's using all these three variables, three modes, and Krishna is explaining why human beings have different natures. So let's see that in the next section. So here we have 41 to 48. All work is controlled by the modes, yet one can become free from the reactions of work by acting as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra in Nishkama Karma Yoga while worshipping the Lord through that work. This work, even if faultily done, is better than accepting another's occupation. Very, very important point that we should do whatever work instead of copying what others are doing. Prescribed duties are never affected by sinful reaction. That's what is given in from 41 to 48. And then summary of the yoga ladder is there from 19 to 66. So 19 to 40, karma, modes control all activities. 41 to 48, sakama to nishkam karma yoga. 49 to 55, nishkama karma yoga through liberation, then devotional service. 56 to 60, working in pure devotional service. 61 to 63, more confidential knowledge, surrender to supreme soul. And 64 to 66, most confidential knowledge, become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. So let's see 41 to 48. 4 kinds of ashramas based on the modes of material nature. Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranam cha parantapa karmani pravibhaktani swabhava prabhavair gunaihi. Yes, please. Triveni Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Sudras are distinguished by their qualities born of their own nature in accordance with the material modes. O chastier of the enemy. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So in this section, Lord is describing about various varnas. So Lord Krishna is following a very systematic way by giving a prologue. Prologue means introduction kind of a thing, and then getting into each varna in detail. Very, very beautiful way of presenting. His presentation is beautiful. So here Krishna is saying Brahmana. So here Lord is talking about Brahmanas. Kshatriya, we all know Kshatriyas, the military, the soldier army. Visham means Vaishyas, the business, mercantile section. Shudranam, the Shudras, the laborers. And O Parantapa, O Arjuna, O subduer of enemies. He's using the words Parantapa because he's been able to win over many enemies. Karmani pravi bhaktani, vibhaktani. Vibhakta means itself, the word vibhakt comes means division. So karmani vibhaktani means their activities are divided. According to what? What are their activities divided? According to their swabhava, according to their nature, their swabhava. Swabhava means nature. So the activities have been divided. Karmani have been vibhakt or divided according to their swabhava, which are prabhavai. Prabhavai means born out of gunai, the quality, the modes of material nature. So the system of Varnashrama Dharma was a very scientific way of doing it, you know. They had organized it so very well. According to Swabhava Prabhavair Gunaihi, according to the work was based on one's own nature and one's own gunas, qualities. The four varnas, like were Brahmana, that was priestly class. Then there were Kshatriyas, who were warriors, and they were administrative class were also into that. Vaishyas, they were the mercantile and the farming class. And then the Shudras were there, who were worker class. Then there were four ashramas also. There was Brahmacharya, you know, where student life, you know, a lot of austerity and discipline had to be followed. And then it was like from childhood till the age of say 25, and then they used to enter into grahast ashram, where you know they used to have a householder life, which was regular married life with kids and responsibilities, jobs and so on, 25 to till 50 years. Then slowly enter into vanaprastha ashram, where kids grow up, and you know, semi-renounced life, you can call it, where the age span was like 50 to 75, you can say. In that stage, you know, you are still in the family life, but you are still practicing renunciation in remaining in the family life. Then sannyas ashram, of course, we all know it's a renounced order. And after 75 onwards, where you know one gives up all kinds of household activities, all kinds of responsibilities. He goes in a different place, in a very holy dham or somewhere, and he's completely absorbed, you know, in the glory of Lord, and doing kirtans and chanting the glories of the Lord. The varnas were not considered higher or lower. There was no comparison like that, you know. It was not like that, because center of all the society was simple: God. The Lord was there, the center of the society. Nobody was high or low. Everybody was working for God. Everyone worked according to their own inherent qualities that they had. They had to sustain that, and they, because you have to sustain a society, right? If you have to make the society work, if everyone does the same thing, how will it work? That's how the life becomes successful, right? That's how you progress towards God realization. Because God is in the center, you're all working for God. At that time, unlike now, in Varnashrama system, there was unity in whatever diversity they were having. Diversity, it is what? It is it is inherent in nature, right? No two people can be same. It cannot be removed. Like, you know, just like we have so many limbs in our body, and if they are all performing different functions. Now if I say hands, you must walk. Ridiculous, right? Feet, you should eat. Foolishness, right? We cannot expect all the limbs to perform the same function. Seeing them as different is not that, oh, he's so ignorant, he's seeing the hands and the separate legs doing this work, hand is doing this work, he's so ignorant. No, it's actually common sense, you know. It's a factual knowledge that, okay, there is a utility for something. Eyes can see, nose can smell, hands can work, like that. Similarly, the variety among the human beings, that cannot be ignored. Not all people can become an artist, right? Some have that gift of gab. They can do creative things. I can't. They can. So Lord Krishna is explaining that people have different natures, and according to the gunas, that constitute their personality. And that is why different, you know, professional duties are suitable for them according to their gunas. Even in the communist countries, if you see, like China, Russia, North, what is their foremost principle? Equality, right? Their foremost principle is to be, you know, having maintain equality. But there also we have, you know, we see that they have a system. They are party leaders. They are forming the ideologies. There is a military. They are using, the weapons and all to protect the nation. There are farmers. They are cultivating the land. And there are industrial workers who are doing mechanical jobs. So there are people, even in communist country, where they call about equality. The four classes of occupation, they are existing even now. But, you know, They have said equality, communism, this, that, but still that is there. You can't not have it. It's impossible. So Varnashrama system actually recognizes the diversity in the human society, and scientifically it has been, prescribed duties according to matching the people's nature. But slowly what has happened with the passage of time, this Varnashrama system has a downfall, it has deteriorated completely. And the basis of Varnas is it has changed from one's nature to one's birth. That is what has happened. Children of Brahmanas, they call themselves Brahmanas. They may not be even having that kind of quality in them. But because I'm born of a Brahmana, I'm a Brahmana. Concept of that upper class and lower caste, is of upper caste, that has spread so much now. Upper caste people looking down upon the lower caste people, scheduled caste, tribes. The system has become very rigid. It has become very birth based now. System is dysfunctional now. It's not right. Previously, God was in the center. People were doing according to their nature. This is a social defect that we have now. We can't help it now. It's Kali Yuga. That was not the original intention of Varnashrama system. So in this way, in the next few verses, according to the categorization of the system of the Lord is going to map out the gunas of people with their natural qualities of work. Lord will start with the gunas of the qualities of a Brahmana. We'll see that next week. I'll stop over here now. Panchakalpatarubhyashcha kripa sindhubhyo च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.